Hello, my name is Stephanie Claussen. I'm a professional harpist. I play classical, Celtic, some pop music, some other stuff. I've been teaching private lessons for about 10 years now in my home studio. I'm preparing for a competition right now. And as I've been doing that, I've been experiencing some pain in my right arm. So I came up with a list of 12 things that you can do to improve your harp playing that don't involve a lot of physical activity. Suggestion number 1, clap the rhythm while you're counting out loud, which takes some work. It's not automatic for anybody, but it's also a great way to master a rhythm that has been bothering you without playing it over and over and over again. Suggestion number 2 is to hum one hand while you play the other. I think this is actually a great idea all the time because it's a little bit less work for your brain than actually putting both hands together. And this is also a great strategy if you have a blister or a sliver or some sort of injury where you literally cannot use one arm or the other. You can just sing or hum that part while your other hand gets all of that practice. Suggestion number 3 is ghost your part. So ghosting is where you put your hands on the strings, but you're not actually exerting the force. You're not plucking the string. You're just kind of setting your fingers there and then removing them. And you might hear the sound, just that really light sound of taking your finger off. And it can help reinforce the shape of your brackets or your chords, which is so important to understand the shape. It's actually almost more important, that part, than the actual playing. Playing is easy. Getting to the right strings is difficult. So suggestion number 4 is to play along with a recording. This could be somebody else's recording, or if you feel like you're capable of playing just for a short while, you could record your right hand playing the melody once, and then play along with that recording, left hand alone, just so you've got the sense of how the parts come together without needing to actually be playing your right hand over and over and over again. I'm using the right hand example because that's what I was doing for myself. These next 4 suggestions are kind of ways to analyze your music because having your brain involved is just as important as having your fingers involved. Analyze the structure of your piece. So for me, that involves just sitting and looking, where are there repetitions? Where does this melody section happen multiple times? If there are multiple verses, where did the verses start and end? Verse 1, verse 2, verse 3. If there's an interlude that is different material from your melody. Sometimes as harpists, we have lots of these arpeggios that are going up into the treble clef. Make sure you know, well, this is the continuation of a left-hand arpeggio, and this is where the melody comes in again. Suggestion number 6 is to label your chords, especially if you have a lot of arpeggios that are just slightly different from each other, or if you have a lot of 7th chords, weird ones that keep catching you by surprise, or if there's a really important chord right at the end that you always feel a little panicky about. Am I going to get it in time? Just write it in. Figure out, okay, what notes are in this chord? Oh, it's a C, an E, and a G. If you stack those all on top of each other, that makes that little triad, and you can see that that's a C chord. The more you actually label it in your music, the better your brain will recognize that chord symbol later on. That's kind of a thing that develops over time. If you're consistent about it, you're able to react better to that marking in your music. Write in any fingerings or brackets or dynamics that you've kind of had in the back of your head and you just haven't gotten around to writing them down. Sometimes you don't need to write these things down because they're just so intuitive, they happen perfectly every time. But if there's any place in your music that you ever stumble or you're wondering, how loud am I supposed to be playing right here? That's a sign that you should write it in. Number 8 is to make a chord chart. Especially if I'm trying to memorize a piece, I like to get myself away from the actual printed music. So I will just make a chord chart like this, and I just write out the chords in order, and I like to separate them like a phrase per line, and then sometimes an empty line in between different sections. Like if there's an A part and a B part, I'll leave an empty space between those. I'll separate them by verse also. Just so long as you figure out a system that your brain can process efficiently. Step number 9 is if you have a string missing that you have not actually put the string in forever, this is a great opportunity if you can't practice for some reason, or maybe making an appointment to regulate your harp. Maybe even dusting or tuning your harp, honestly. 10 is to deal with any page turns that you've been kind of muddling your way through for a long time. Or taping any pages that need to be taped together. For me, if I have a 3-page piece and you can't make that page turn, it's a matter of photocopying the 3rd page and then taping it to my 2nd page so I can have the 3 pages all spread out on my music stand. These last 2 suggestions are things that you can do away from your harp if you're on vacation, waiting for an appointment if you're on public transit. Number 11 is to listen to recordings. This could be recordings of other people, could be even pieces that are in the same genre. So if you're learning a Celtic tune, listening to Celtic music is going to help you improve your comprehension of kind of the style and how Celtic music should sound. Or recordings of the specific piece can really help you get the flow, get ideas of what tempo you like to play it at. Some people might play it really fast, some people might play it slow, and you can make decisions about what you like. And it's also really helpful to record yourself and then to listen back as if you are your harp teacher. Think, is there anything that I need to change? Is there a place where I'm slowing down or speeding up? Does it sound relaxed or excited or sorrowful? Don't be really hard on yourself, but just decide, is this piece the way it should be? And then the final suggestion, number 12, is to think through your music. This, I think, is the hardest one for me and also the most beneficial. So I'm a Star Trek fan, and I used to think if I were in the holodeck and I had to recreate my neighborhood, could I do it? Like, how many details have I actually captured in my brain and would be able to say, oh, well, that house is a greenhouse and that house has a bush in the front yard and that person has petunias in their garden. This is the same thing with your music, where you can imagine, if I had to write out this piece, could I do it? If you are an auditory or kinesthetic learner, maybe it's like, can I hear the whole piece? Or if you know the melody really well, can I hear how that left hand sounds, the accompaniment? Can I feel what that arpeggio, how it sits in my hand? Can I kind of recreate it in the air? How about those big chords in the right hand? For me, it's helpful to just sit with my eyes closed and to think it through and to picture it either on the music, or I could be picturing my hands on the strings, which is harder for me, and see, where do I get stuck? What part is a little bit blurry? What part am I just hoping muscle memory will fill in? The goal is that your mind would be really familiar with all the parts so that you don't have to rely on muscle memory. Muscle memory is a wonderful thing, but if you're nervous, it can just go right out the door, and you want to make sure that your brain can fill in that information also. Please leave comments about what you found the most helpful, or if you have any additional suggestions. I'm sure other people would find that really, really fascinating. So thank you, and if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing.